tutorial for assignment 2 of your explorations in typography. And this assignment is covering paragraph elements showing graphic element, a rule between, and an initial cap and drop cap. So what I've done is set up my document already with those pages to get us started. I've updated the assignment to assignment 2, intermediate paragraph indicators, graphic element. And this is 9/12, next to bold, with 20 points of tracking. So I have decided I'm going to use these double brackets that are set backwards. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste them into place for the most part. I am going to set mine up with the type all together. There's definitely plenty of ways you can set this up. Some people like to set it up so it begins the paragraph and also set it as an extent so it hangs. But I like to set it so it's right in with the type. And I like to set it with a space before and a space after. So I just want to take a peek at it right now to make sure it's standing out, but not too much. And I already have it set to orange, but I think I'm already going to set it to bold as well. And that seems to be standing out a good amount. And one other thing I want to do is bump it up a little bit because it's setting really low on the line. So I'm just going to use that function right up here with my character controls, the double A's with the arrow, and just bump it up 1 point. So it moved it up a little bit and it seems to flow with the type a little better. Now what I'm going to do is copy and paste the space before, the space after, and both brackets together. And now every time I go up here, all I have to do is paste it in place. And this is smart to do because it reduces error because you're copy and pasting the exact same thing in, and it's quicker. So you do want to make sure that if you're doing any spaces before and after that they're consistent on all of them. It's also great to make sure that none of them are hanging out on the edges. It's nice if they're nestled in, unless you intend for them to be hanging out on the edges. And I'm just going to make a couple of minor edits here. I'm just going to adjust the column width because it seems like it's a little wide. And I do have one hanging out here, which I don't really like. That's worse. So I'm going to see if I can do a couple of small edits to get rid of it. And it's giving me some problems. So I think I'm going to just be okay with that one there because I'm okay with my rag and I don't have a widow and the column width seems good. So I'm just going to have to accept that. And sometimes in typesetting, you have to figure out what's the best case or worst case scenario and be okay with the rest. I changed the header here to bold so it stands out. And I have already taken my footer out of this paragraph. And I'm going to bring it over here to the side. And it's super big right now, and I don't need it to be that big. So I'm just going to reduce the size of that a bit. And just put it in a nice narrow column over at the edge here. One other thing that I like to do with my graphic element is just go ahead and set it justified. And I think it makes a pretty column. And you might decide not to do that at the moment because setting justified type is a little finicky. But if you would like to try it out, go ahead. We are going to look at alignments in the next assignment. So now what I'm just looking to do is get rid of, good, one of them was hanging out at the edge there. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. And I just made a couple of minor adjustments. And that is graphic element. I'm going to move ahead to the next one, which is the rule between. I already have my type set up and my footer pulled out of it. I'm going to select, actually, you know what? I'm not going to select all of it. I'm going to select all of the body copy except for the first paragraph because I don't need to know that paragraph beginning because it's the first one. And I also don't want this to be affected into the title. So what I'm going to do is just select all of it. And you might have to go up to Window, type in Tables, Paragraph to get this box to pop open. I already had it over here, so you just have to click on it, but if it's not showing up for you, look for it under Window. Now what we're going to do is click on this little sandwich menu over here and go into Paragraph Rules. A box will pop up, and we have the option to choose Rule Above or Rule Below, and that is going to just depend on what the rule is doing based on some of our functions. I'm just going to keep rule above for now, and you have to turn it on. Also make sure your preview is turned on. And you can see these rules are in here already. A little hard to see because I have the type highlighted, but I think you can see some of them. I'm going to go ahead and change the text color to the orange I've been using in all of mine. And I'm going to drop the weight down to 0.25 because I have a very tight space in here. You can add more space if you want to. I've decided not to though because I don't have a lot of room. And I am going to offset it. So right now it's underlining the type. The rule is underlining that first line. I don't want that. I'm going to offset it. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to offset it in the positive direction to bring it up. And now it's sitting directly between the two lines. And that is giving me the indicator that it's a new paragraph. One last thing I'm going to do is instead of choosing the width to be the width of the column, I'm going to choose it to be the width of the text. So while I switch this over, just take a peek at one of the lines and you'll see it switch from the width of the column to the width of the text. So it just goes as far as the text is. And because I have rule above, it is going the width of the text below it. If I had rule below, it would go into, oops, I'm actually going to not do that because I have to turn that on and it would actually make two of them, which is too much. So I'm going to not do that. I would have to go and turn that off first. So anyway, I'm going to leave this on just rule above, and I do like that better so it's not showing just the small line here. It's going to the full one. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Actually, before I do that, I'll just show you. You can click on type up here too and choose any kind of line you want. And play with these features and see what different effects you can get that make you happy. I'm going to hit OK. And for the most part, this is looking good, except for a couple of my widows. So I'm going to see, yeah, I think I can just get rid of some of the tracking here. Okay, I'm not happy that I had to go down two clicks, but I think it's okay because this monotype is very spaced out, so it actually blends in kind of a lot. And then one other thing I need to do is select my headers, the byline, and that space below it, and make sure I span that both columns so this gets forced down. And you might notice that there's just 2 lines of the paragraph hanging out over here, which is not good, so I'm just going to move this bounding box up so that we have 3. And the last thing I need to do is just bring my footer over here, and I'm just going to let it live in this space and bring it down in size. I don't want to go down to 6, but I might go down to 6.5, which is pretty small, but that's going to have to do because we're running out of space here. And monotype set's pretty loose, so it should be relatively easy to read. And it's set apart from my copy pretty well, but I'd like to set it apart even more just because it's kind of a funky column over here, and I definitely don't want it competing with my colophon. So this could be better probably, but I'm going to call that done for now. That's how you do rule between. Oh no, I can't help myself. I have to set a little bit of hierarchy up here. And some bold. And like, there we go. That's a little better. Okay, so this is rule between. And now I'm going to show you initial cap, which is pretty easy. I've already got it set up with the indent because an initial cap and a drop cap is only affecting the first paragraph. So you have to have something else indicating your paragraphs. And in this case, I chose indent and it's already set up. So I'm actually just going to do the first character here, though you can do the whole first word if you want to. And you just make it bigger. So, oops, I didn't mean to click that. Okay, so you just make it bigger. I'm going to make it a few points bigger. I don't want it to be too big because it's going to start competing with my header. And it is already competing with my header. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bigger and have that stand out even more. And I am going to let that span all 3 columns as well. And I'm going to actually use that this time by bringing the byline up there as well. I think 1 space is enough. And I've done a couple things already. My footer is a little smaller, and now I think I just need to fix these widows. And there's a couple, there's 3 of them. So that tells me I did not choose good tracking. I'm going to select the whole thing and go down to a 20. and it fixed all of them. And that's great. I'm happy with that. The only thing that I need to fix now is these 2 lines of the paragraph are not together. I don't want them like that. So I'm going to make sure there's 3 together. And I'm going to bring this back up here where it was. And better. Okay, so that is initial cap. And the last one I'm going to show you is drop cap. This is also relatively easy, but it does require a little bit more work than initial cap. I am going to select this first word over here and go back into the sandwich menu in my paragraphs. And this time I'm going to choose drop caps and nested styles. And I have the chance to choose how many lines deep I want it and how many characters I want it. So I'm just going to affect the first character and go down a few lines. You could go ahead and take up the entire paragraph if you want to, which is really big, though that is completely hideous. So I'm just going to go down a few lines. Whatever you do, you want to make sure there's still a few lines of type, at least 3 below the drop cap. I know it's a little hard to see, but this is like the word expanded is where my paragraph ends. And I think that's actually a little too much. I think I'm going to do 4. So down 4 lines, 1 character. I will hit OK. I'm happy with that. And I just need to apply a little bit of hierarchy to my title, especially because it's getting kind of eaten by this drop cap. I am going to do the same thing I've done before. Whoopsie. I'm going to do the same thing I've done before and span my column so that it takes up both, and that is where my header lives. Great. Now I have a couple of big problems like this widow hanging out over here, but I'm not going to deal with it yet because I have to make a couple of changes. One change is I don't have any paragraph indicators. So I left them because I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you how to do space between once again. So we have to look at our leading. Our leading is set to 13. And actually, I can already tell when I do that I'm going to have some problems with fitting copy in. And I have already gone and deleted the last paragraph, so I'm not going to do any more. And so I need to make some changes to my copy. I think I'm going to go down to a 9 and do a 9/12. And I'm happy with that. Good. So now I can go back in and fix my space between. So I have a 9/12, so 12 is the points of leading. So I need to add 50% extra, which is 6. So I'm going to go over to my paragraph functions in here. I'm going to choose the space before, select the whole thing, and go P6. So that is going to add 6 points of leading everywhere there's a hard return. And there was a hard return here and for every paragraph after, and you can see where those are added. I'm happy with the way that looks, except for I obviously have screwed up some things here. Mainly, I'm running out of space again, so I'm going to move the byline up. I'm going to get my copy lined back up to this grid line here, and I'm going to get it lined up to this grid line down here. I'm going to make sure I don't have any widows or just a few lines of type hanging out, and I have a couple of problems, so I'm just going to select that and go to a 20. That fixed it. Fabulous. We also have one here, a widow there. I'm going to go to a 20. Didn't fix it. Rats. And it looks like a 40 did fix it. So I would rather not go from a 20 to a 40 that close, but I actually don't see too much of a difference. So I'm going to call that a success. And I also never affected the footers with the space between, so I need to fix that. And my footers are at an 11. So I'll just go in and do my P 5.5. Beautiful. Get rid of that extra space. And that is how you set a drop cap. So that is all assignment 2, intermediate paragraph indicators, graphic element rule, initial cap, and drop cap.